Hi, I'm Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video we are going to be looking at the past, present, and future of your connection. At first I was going to keep this strictly romantic relationship based, but you know what? I just like to include everyone. We're going to also include if this is a strong friendship connection or maybe a strong family member connection. Whatever this may be, it's this person that when you clicked on this video, you kind of can't help but think about them. You're drawn to them. There's a magnetism there. There's something where you want to know. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm excited to go over this because the past, present, and future, well, I mean, that is going to that's going to have a lot of context to explain, like, well, how did we get here now? Does this explain where we're going? And can we change it if maybe it's not the place where we don't want it to go? Or is there something in the past we're learning from and getting joy from that causes such a beautiful future? Whatever it may be, we're going to be going over in today's video. And before I go into that, I just want to say thank you guys so much for showing the support in the recent video I put out yesterday about the Akashic Records. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I include drawings and details about the layout, how it works, all that. It's just, I'm so pumped you guys were as equally interested. Also check out that video because I give the options of what you would like me to speak about next week, which included angels. Yes, it surprised me too when I found out they were real. I can go into, how they look and how they act and so on and so forth. Cord cutting, which involves separating when you have an unhealthy emotional sort of reaction to people. And this can include positive stuff too. Cord connections happen unintentionally all the time, and go into the process of explaining what that is and how to do it. And third was spiritual surgery. So you can just go to that video. I have it in the comment section and you can hit a thumb up, and that way I can better understand, what's the most popular take. I will be doing all of those. However, one of them, whatever is the most popular, I will do, as soon as possible. So going back to our current question, as you can see, I have 4 groups in front of us. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you connect with most. Now that you've done that, you can go down to the description where you can go to your designated group with its marked timestamp. And let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's look at that past, present, and future connection by looking at the cards. And I've got a lot of cards. We've got Heal the Ouch Oracle card in reverse, Page of Wands in reverse, King of Pentacles in reverse, and 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. So good news is I do not see any cards implying that this was like a deeply bad person. There's sort of warning cards that would imply your other connected person was... they weren't a good person. You should get far away from them. You know what I mean? This is more like something wasn't the best between the two of you for this card to pop up, and I can see that confirmed here and here. In this card, it talks about the idea that you need to forgive or let go of something between you and someone else, or you and yourself. And this is sort of like a meta thing where we're looking at the past and it's referring to this experience in context. So when this pops up, something wasn't great enough for you need to forgive someone. Over here in the Page of Wands in reverse, it's again a strong sort of confirmation of saying you really need to start considering in the present moment forgiving this other person, starting this sort of new energy, this new perspective on the matter. And this is just keeps really redefining this. We get better explanation over here and here. We have the King of Pentacles in reverse. This is the other person. I can see there was a lot of control on their end. Now, we don't have an Emperor in reverse situation where they were full-on manipulative, full-on controlling. It was all conniving. It's just that they wanted to be the leader and the sort of dominant person in the relationship, say what happened next, and it was kind of taken to not the best level. Like sometimes in certain interactions between people, it works to have someone a little more dominant in leadership in the relationship, but it's for the greater good of both of you, and it's like a healthy thing and everything's fine. They took it a little further than that, not to a level you need to be worried about when looking back. So if you're asking if like they're a good or bad person, that's just not really what I'm seeing. But they took it it was for their greater good, if that makes sense. Now, for some of you, I do see it referring to someone who was kind of controlling about money in some kind of regard, like they defined a lot of their self-worth by money. But for others, it's just a general idea that they needed to see themselves create the situation. They wanted to be the one to create the experiences between the two of you. They wanted you to kind of depend on whatever they could create for the both of you, and kind of pat themselves on the shoulder for this. Continuing on, this gets confirmed over here when we have a Six of Pentacles in reverse, because this refers to somebody using somebody else. They are aware of what they're doing, they're aware of what the value of someone else is, and they're kind of taking advantage of that, getting all they can from it. They're aware that it's not an even trade between the two of them, and it marks at how valuable they really see you. They see you as someone that's worthy, and they can get some kind of goodness or something special out of you by being around you. Now, as devious as I know that is coming across the way I'm explaining it, in this particular context, I don't want you to think it's just like, oh, you have money or something and they want it and they're getting it from you. It's more like they don't really potentially love or know how to best express themselves. They can only do it in this way, and they see some good and wonderfulness in you, and they figure if they're around you, experience it from you, they can get it themselves. But it's still a very warped way of that they're approaching it. Does that make sense? So anyways, now let's look at the present. The Oracle card is Gentle Gardener in reverse. Okay, that's getting confirmed again. Whoa, okay, we're getting the Fool card again. Okay, this is super important. Judgment in reverse and Four of Pentacles upright. Okay, I can go right into this. So the Gentle Gardener in reverse is actually a repetition of this other Oracle card. This again says you need to let go of resentments. What are you holding on that's kind of preventing sort of growth? Now, this is not a blame game. This is not criticizing you or anything like that. It's just acknowledging that if you would like things to change in this current predicament, you're going to need to sort of really focus on this and open up in order to make the floodgates open for something that you would prefer, a better interaction between you and this other person. This doesn't mean that you don't have the right to feel the way you do, especially when we have this card popping up. Like, this card implies, yeah, that wasn't right that they did treat you that way, but for your own betterment, it's time to let go so you feel better. It's not for their sake, it's for your sake. But then over here, it's more of a sort of dreamer's possibility of like, well, if you want all these dreams to come true, and this does have sort of a connotation of like a happy ending for you, well, if you want this all to happen, you need to let that go. That's kind of your last sort of blockage in the way. This gets confirmed again, very much again repeated like the Page of Wands in its facing with the Fool card. This is pointed out in not only connotation, but my spirit guides are pointing out that you seem to be in a much better place in the present moment to be able to do this. And I'm really actually quite proud of you, because the Fool card is someone who has no baggage, so it's easier for them to sort of look positively in the future and believe that anything's possible. And the good news is this is a positive confirmation that things will ultimately be happy for you in the end, no matter what you decide, because the Fool believes, okay, happy and, this is going to work out best case scenario. So it does. And so to get to this place after, even though you're actually currently in the middle of needing to forgive them, and even though you have a reason to forgive them, and to have such a kind of light, carefree, free-spirited attitude about you, well, I think this is something isn't spoken about enough, but is extremely difficult to get to. It's hard for most people to truly let it go to this depth, but you seem very enlightened in a good place, and it's kind of the right time to do it. So everything kind of worked out when it needed to. You potentially might have been going through this longer than you had wanted to between you and this other person, because you needed to get to this state in order to be this version of yourself to forgive. So this continues on over here with the Judgment card in reverse and this explaining this other person in your life. So unfortunately, the Judgment card points out this idea of like a test needing to be done in a relationship. Technically, it's not unfortunate there is a test. When these tests pop up, they're super normal and common in relationships. People make it seem like the Judgment card's super rare and, it's once in a lifetime. And I mean, even relationships that are not very serious get tested, because it's a sort of situation where when you come out the other end of it, you'll either be better off as a couple or friends or whatever the scenario is between the two of you, or it will kind of clarify to both of you, ooh, maybe this isn't a good fit. Well, when it's in reverse, they're refusing to take the test. It's kind of at this like feeling of a standstill. So something needs to happen. They need to get involved. It's a feeling of like, nope, I don't want to do this. I have my own personal like ways I want things done, and I'm not willing to budge. Again, how we talked about a similar vibe over here in the King of Pentacles in reverse, and that gets confirmed again over here in the Four of Pentacles upright. As you can see, as this person clutches onto what they have remaining, they feel like an unopened book or refusing to open a book, and this often refers to emotions. I know Pentacles talk about energy and belief, but it is this idea of like, I don't want to express myself, I'm not willing to talk about it, and so it seems like whatever they need to let out and express their version of it in order to, successfully have this feeling of healing and moving on, so that this whole feeling of like this coming together of the two of you being like, hey, this is what I experienced in the past, I didn't love it, and even them saying their side of the version, this is how I felt, this is why I needed to be this way, and some form of forgiveness coming up. This needs to happen. This is the test between the two of you to kind of decide what's going on in the future. They just won't budge. So keep in mind, this is again still not anything you're necessarily in control of or your fault, or it's just kind of the way it is so far. But again, I do want to repeat, I'm still not seeing anything where this is like an evil maniacal person. They're so toxic. Everyone, sometimes it's just hard for people in certain lifetimes to, move past certain points, and so that's why they carry it on to other lives, and then they get over it then. So they'll eventually get over it. We'll just see if it's in this timeline. So now this is the future. We have Balancing Act in reverse, Ten of Swords in reverse, the Hierophant upright, and Four of Swords upright. Okay, I'm very happy to say that you have a happy ending. We had that confirmed. I love this for you. I'm very happy. Your enlightenment definitely does continue. I'm just so proud of you. Sometimes we can get discouraged by experiences and interactions with other people, especially people we care about, whether they be romantic, friend, family, whatever. Well, you seem to keep growing and growing and growing. Now, I don't see it with this other person. However, it's sort of an open-ended sort of separation between the two of you when we have a Four of Swords in reverse, or I'm sorry, upright. So over here, think of it as like you sleeping on the relationship, like not right now, I'm gonna just take a break, I'm gonna go do me for a while, and you do you, and maybe we'll return. So it's not a full ending. So if you are hoping this will continue in the long run, it seems like that possibility is very much open, but I do see a sense of parting ways or needing time away from each other. This is due to what's going on over here in the Hierophant upright. For some of you, it is straight up talking about this idea of leveling up your education. This could be going back to school, maybe you gain a new skill through gaining some sort of certificate or knowledge or whatever, but it seems like you're happy and being like, you know what, I'm going to take care of me right now and just focus on this, rather than the idea of needing to replace whatever this connection is currently immediately, and really just kind of bettering yourself and enjoying the process. I do see a lot of happiness in this field for many of you, but for others where it's not a full-on, getting higher education, it is just the symbolism that you are wiser, far much wiser than you were before. You are able to see the grander picture. Often I like to refer to the Hierophant as sort of like spirit guide perspective. The reason why I say that is if you were a being that lived forever, and you were able to see whoever you were looking over's lifetimes for many, 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 many lifetimes, when you have a small moment and you go to your spirit guide and you're like, I don't feel great. Am I a bad person, or am I doing this right? They just smile and look at you and think this is such a small moment in the grand scheme of things. Now I want to clarify, this is like off topic about spirit guides. They can see and care about the small details with you, but they also simultaneously are able to see the bigger picture. That's basically what's going on for you. You seem to take the bigger picture, and it feels very loving in vibe of like, you do you, I'm wishing you the best, maybe we'll see each other again. In fact, I'd love to see you again, but I think I'm making the smartest and most mature decision for the both of us. Now, this gets continued over here with the balancing act in reverse, referring to this other person that we're talking about. Now, here's where the interesting thing is, and we get a better clarification of why you were going through what you were going through the having difficulty letting it go in the present moment, and having difficulty letting it go, or you needing it to let it go of the past. So when we have the balancing act oracle card in reverse, this refers to someone who is like really just out of balance in their life because they're nitpicking and focusing on little things, and kind of focusing on these little things as an excuse to pull themselves off an even scale. I'm trying to think of comparable balance words. And they're really focused on it. And again, it's that feeling of not being able to let it go. And it's often used as a way of distraction, of like being like, oh, well, I can't do this. I still have to clean the garage. That's the issue. And it's like, is it the issue, or are you avoiding the main problem? It seems like this is the inspiration, you being like, I see that not only can you not let it go and you're not ready to let it go, but I now realize that I was sort of through the universe's influences in my own, because subconsciously you do agree with this, free will is a thing. This, for some of you, this is like an empathic trait, and for some of you, it is a sort of you playing your part as an example of the universe reflecting itself to this other person. I will clarify in 1 second so this doesn't sound too confusing if you're not following along. Sometimes when people, well, always, when we express ourselves, the world reacts back to us. So this is why a lot of people who don't like themselves end up picking partners that show what they think they deserve. That's just a scenario. That's not this particular case. This other person we're talking about felt they were unable to let go. We talk about that control in the King of Pentacles in reverse in the first group. So they seem like they can't seem to let go, and that was sort of getting expressed to them through your feelings of being unable to let it go. Just to be clear, doesn't mean your emotions weren't valid. The universe is a super complex place. So sometimes you're both acting as an example for them, but you are also simultaneously understanding things for yourself, healing your own past life karma. I'm giving broad examples. It's so much more complex than that. One thing that might be benefiting them in their long-term journey can also be benefiting you in another way. So I don't want you to think like you were being controlled by the universe or something like that, and you still weren't benefiting from it in your own journey. But this is an explanation of why you were like, why can't I let this go? It's because they couldn't let it go, and you were kind of showing this to them. You are showing this to them. Do you see what I'm saying here? So that's great. That gives us some understanding of why that feeling of having trouble letting it go is there. That gives so much more clarification. But going over here with the 10 of Swords in reverse, what's really great here is it acts as a double meaning card. On one hand, it refers to what's going on here, a mindset ending, a big one. It finally reaching its point and being like, okay, it's done, it's over. And that mindset that is ending is you realizing, I don't need to be under control of this anymore. I can view this in a different way. I get it. And you leveling up. But this also refers to you as dodging a bullet, is the often terminology used around this. This means something bad could have happened or could potentially happen, and you realizing you want to go enjoy yourself and have some separation with this other person, in the end is going to make you really happy. Now, as ominous as that sounds, and it can refer to something really bad in relationships, like really, really, really bad. I can't go into detail, but in this case, it's more like you would have stayed together and you just would have been really miserable, and you would have been like, man, I'm so glad I'm not dealing with that. I don't need that in my life. You know what I mean? So ultimately, there is the chance that you could get back together if that's what you want to do. I do see you guys taking some time apart. you gaining a lot of continued maturity and relaxation and happiness, and being able to see the grander scale so you don't take any more of this on, and being able to understand this other person in a much clearer way, and generally how it all fits together in the universe, which is really beautiful. So I'm excited for you to continue to grow, because it just seems like you're unstoppable despite the circumstances, which is very powerful, and you should also take that subtext of how powerful you are to heart. And I'm excited that you will be avoiding something that will ultimately not be good for you. It will all work out in the end either way. So I am wishing you the best. Please let me know in the comments below, how are you currently, gaining a greater understanding of this other person and the bigger picture. I'd love to know in the comments below, like, what are the little signs you're noticing, or realizing when it isn't about you and it is them, and so on and so forth. I'd love to hear that personal growth. Keep in mind, you don't have to share if you feel too shy about it. Obviously, this is meant to be a safe place, and if you're not comfortable, don't express it. But consider how it might help someone else reading that comment and help them gain clarity in their own situation. So anyways, I am wishing you the best. Please consider giving the video a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2, let's look at that past, present, and future of your connection by looking at the cards. This is your past. Bone Collector Oracle card in reverse, the Fool card upright, the Strength card upright, and the Two of Wands upright. Okay, I can get started right away with this. So first off, I love this interaction between the Bone Collector in reverse and the Fool card. And we have some really nice vibes about the relationship going on with the Strength card in reverse and the Two of Wands upright. So even this might have a subtext of sounding like it could potentially hint to something bad. It's actually good, and then we get that confirmation that it's good. So let's go into that. So the Bone Collector in reverse refers to a lesson repeating itself over and over and over again until you finally allow yourself to learn it. And this is being like aware you keep dating the same type of person or keeping friends with the same type of person. It's kind of like an over and over that type thing. And you're somewhat aware of it, but you're just kind of still choosing to ignore it, kind of thing. Well, the beautiful thing with the Fool card is it both refers to the past and the current present. So we're kind of dipping a little bit into the present of you beautifully coming together with that connection. The purple in the background refers to the number 3, which refers to harmony. And this is sort of you gaining a piece of that puzzle. To better explain this, harmony can actually be clearly defined. I actually just did a video on the Akashic Records, as I talked about. One of the things in the Akashic Records is they talk about the number 3 being related to harmony, and harmony having a very specific concept. It's not just like harmony, everything's going well. Harmony refers to 3 things interworking and affecting the other in perfect tandem. And these 3 specific things are 2 things that come together, create something else, and then all of them affect each other. A good example of this is 2 parents together creating a child, all 3 of them coming together. Another example that we can use is like the moon, the tides that are created through the gravitational pull, and then the third one is the sort of environment of the earth related to, like, the ecosystem related to what's going on over here, and then the 3 of them all needing each other and affecting one another in order to create this sense of harmony. So there was something missing, and you gaining this sense of clarity is helping you gain this sense of harmony in your life and potentially in the relationship. And the interesting thing here is that it is expressed through the Fool card. This seems like something that you're not aware of at all. It's not even a subconscious level. You're not aware that this is happening, but it is happening. And it's ironically, I'm going to just use this word again, it's a nice sense of harmony within you by realizing that this other person that you're either romantically with or friends with, while it might be a similar pattern that you can fall into or interaction with this type, like maybe you interact with people the same way over and over again, there's something that's like shifting or being understood or being changed by being with this particular person. You might have started the same, dated the same type of person, had the same interaction with this type of person, whatever the relationship may be, but something gets altered or changed in this particular scenario that helps you complete and overcome this lesson, which is beautiful. And you were none the wiser about it, happy and just beautifully walked into it. We love that. Now over here, I can see in the Strength card upright is that you will always be and have been in this relationship as the sort of caretaker. Now, I use that really terminology super lightly because for me, caretakers seem to revolve around the imagery of somebody who is like, maybe they are the person that stays at home, whether this be female or male or otherwise, and whoever chooses to be home, you know, they're the person kind of who has to dote on the other person. Now, this can be the case. This can be. And in negative aspects, I feel that a person who is a caretaker can be kind of forced into this role if it's an unhealthy, unwilling sort of scenario, or they think as caretaker, that's all that's kind of meant to be for them. But no. A caretaker is just somebody in this scenario who is able to understand what the other person needs and so seamlessly wants to and is able to give that to them. If we want to reverse scenarios, someone else could be staying at home. You could be the person going out making all the money. We're using cliches here, by the way. This is not just one case and scenario. I'm just using one example. And you're going out and you're bringing home all the money and, you know, whatever. And then, but you are able to anticipate, oh, the person who's at home right now, they really love this, and you go and get that for them, and you're able to see when they need support and when they need space, and so on and so forth. This is not something that is like you're forced in one way. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm just using an example of a partner that's romantic and someone's making money and someone who's staying home, but we're talking about a much wider scale. You know what I'm talking about, the dynamic. Now, I can see that you do have a habit of dating sort of a, we'll just lightly call it the beast. It feels like the other person is able to express themselves however they want, especially if this gets not maybe the best. Now, I don't see anything aggressive or negative. They don't seem like a bad person at all. It's more that like maybe they can cry and freak out and scream, and this doesn't even mean directly at you, just like in general, they're frustrated about a problem, and you kind of more are able to not only help them and kind of bend around them and make them feel better, but you don't personally express yourself in that kind of way because you are able to understand if you did, you would really kind of put a lot of stress on them. So you're able to kind of be the ultimate sense of someone who knows how to anticipate what's the best case scenario or what's the best way to handle each situation. I don't see you as somebody who's holding themselves back, but you're just beautifully in tune with others and the universe, and this is not something at all you should change. But this is a reason why you do tend to be linked to these people. Caretakers do not need to be, I mean, you can be with another caretaker. I mean, that's totally a scenario that I've seen and experienced firsthand, and I personally would say that I'm in that type of scenario myself. And so this is not necessarily negative, but it is a common thread. So going on, over here on the Two of Wands, interestingly enough, when we talk about the past, while this might have been the case in the past, and we'll see if they're still this way in the present moment and potentially the future, the Two of Wands, last but not least, refers to this scenario needing to change, whether you need to sit down and say, listen, I'm not going to bend around you if you don't change, or maybe that's fine, and you find a way to both be this way for them, but also set your own boundaries, and it's not kind of too much and you feel like you lose yourself in this other person, or whatever the case may be. There is something where it needs to evolve, and there is the feeling of wanting it to change and shift into, and we're going to go into the present moment, but something kind of was like holding it back and pulling back for the scenario. Like some dynamic needed to change personality-wise in one of you or both of you in order to kind of level up what's going on over here in the Strength card upright. So let's look at the present day. We have Ghostland in reverse, 10 of Cups upright. Oh, okay. I can go right into this. Ace of Cups in reverse and 3 of Swords upright. I can get right into this. So when we have a Ghostlands scenario in reverse, keep in mind it's going to come across super negative the way I'm expressing it, but it is actually fine and a good thing. I'll be clear about this. When we have a Ghostland Oracle card in reverse, this is when people you're searching for something that there's nothing there you can get from it. This is a scenario where you're either looking too much into the future of what you would wish it to be, or you're kind of holding on to the past of what you wish it was, and there's just this scenario of you being out of place in the current situation and timeline because you're not allowing yourself to be present in the relationship. But when you look towards these other scenarios, it's basically like the card and the universe being like, girl, there's nothing there because the future hasn't happened and the past already did. You know what I mean? Girl or boy. And so going forward, this is a good thing because this doesn't mean in the future there will be nothing there with this other person. It just implies that if you are hoping for something to change or be different, I can tell over here in the Ten of Cups in relationship with these other cards in combination, it's this feeling of like, I wish something would change, I wish it was different. And it's like, you don't need to look there. Everything's actually way better than you think it is. The fruit that you're looking for is not there. You will be able to have what you want right now. In the Ten of Cups, this gets confirmed, and my spirit guides have confirmed things are actually quite good for you and much more blissful than you're kind of giving it credit for. It seems happy. They seem like they treat you really well. Things are going pretty nicely, but the sort of reason why you're motivated to look and see if there's something better or could be changed or hoped for is due to what's going on over here in the Ace of Cups in reverse and the Three of Swords in reverse. In the Ace of Cups in reverse, this is when your other person, again, friend, partner, family member, whatever, this other connection is closed off emotionally. They don't seem willing to this is probably why they came off as a little more, we'll just like say explosive in the sort of strength card. They felt they were not that great at giving into those feelings and being able to understand how to express them in the maybe most when I say I don't want to use the term healthy because this person isn't like a toxic or bad person for you other people. It's more like how do I express this? You know, you want to sit down and just be as adults and be like, this is how I feel. This is how I feel. Oh yes, I conclude, Watson. That kind of idea going on. And you know, you're feeling this sense of like, man, I wish they would open up more. I'm getting a little tired of this. I wish it were a little different. That's true. You can want that, but don't stay there because you're missing out on what's actually good right now and what you would like to happen. That wishing for that is not going to make it happen. It's not going to make you more happy in the relationship because the relationship you want isn't in the future or past. It's happening right now. So you get what I'm saying. Now we can see why they're closed off due to the Three of Swords upright. This could be a menage of scenarios. Maybe they have, I don't want to like freak you out because, you know, I'm not getting this too strongly, but I do have to put this scenario out there. They could have potentially privately cheated. You don't know about it and they feel guilt about it, so they're closed off. That is a scenario. I'm just putting that out there. But they could have either cheated or been cheated on in like the far past in another relationship, so they're still kind of hung up on that. Or this is another unusual energy I'm picking up. Well, not unusual, but they could have experienced a very deep sense of loss. And this could have been not a romantic thing, but something like maybe they were like betrayed by, maybe when they were younger, one of their parents like left them or something like that, or something happened in that kind of scenario, and that kind of hurt them deep enough, or maybe they really cared about somebody and that person passed, you know, and that's just, they can't let that go. It's very upsetting, essentially. So, yeah, it's just something that's keeping them closed off right now. Things are ultimately great, but don't kind of lose sight of what's already good and just understand where the motivation is coming from. But let's see if things change in the future. Solitude in reverse. Okay, thank goodness. I wanted to tell you good news. Five of Cups in reverse, Page of Cups upright, and Knight of Swords upright. Okay, this is super cute. I was a little concerned when I saw Solitude. So, hold on, I'm being told stuff. Okay, Solitude in reverse. My spirit guides say this refers to both isolation in the future of feeling like you're isolated, like you're like, man, am I the only one here? You know, it can sometimes feel like that way. Even if the relationship's great, if the other partner, you don't feel like it's opening up enough, you can feel isolated, like you're the only one in it, or you feel separated from them. I can see both that sense of isolation, and I can also see a sense of like both of you not really hanging out with other people and being isolated as a group. So it feels like that your partner is unable to, or this other person in your life is unable to open up to you, but they're also unable to open up to others. So you're kind of like their safety raft. Again, going very much back to the imagery in the strength card over here, they depend on you. You're the only one that can like get them and know what's up and kind of understand them and work with them essentially. However, this does change, and I'm very happy to say that. So in the Five of Cups in reverse, this not only shows you guys overcoming this time period as I don't get like a really heavy down, keep in mind. I get kind of the down where like maybe you do have a moment where you cry and break down and you tell them like, why won't you talk to me for like a moment, but you kind of ultimately feel fine the next day. Like it was like a small moment and then you move past it. It wasn't that deep. It doesn't affect you like 24 hours a day. So I see a small time period of like it just feeling that way, but keep hanging on, keep holding on, because not only do I see you guys both overcoming this very shortly after, but I do see a perspective being changed and you no longer looking at what isn't working. Again, that sort of Ghostlands and reverse oracle card we talked about over here. And you start to be like, well, what is there? What good little morsels can I get? Like changing your perspective on the matter. And while you are changing this perspective and seeing what can be offered when it is offered, this other person does simultaneously feel more motivated to try to be more open. So it's almost like you kind of putting out into the universe what you want and then getting it back. Like attracts like, which is really beautiful. So it's not just your perspective on the matter, because sometimes people try and we don't give them enough credit and that kind of case. It's more like you choosing and putting yourself openly to be like, hey, if I see little signs, I'll be willing to be open to it and give it more credit than I previously maybe have in the past. And I do want to be really clear on those little signs. It's going to be really, really small right now. That's kind of all you need to know. Just work with it. It's take what you can get kind of thing. So when the Page of Cups, I do see them emotionally expressing themselves more, but it's going to be small. Give them a break, give them some time, be patient some more, because when we have a page scenario, they are a student, they are figuring it out. They are trying to see, like, if I express it, what's the reaction? How do I feel afterwards? And kind of like studying and understanding themselves. The kind of limitation my spirit guide is showing me is they didn't express themselves before, not because they didn't trust you or anything like that. It's more of a scenario where, you know how, like, have you ever read a book and in the book the main character expresses all their feelings behind the scenes, but then when they go to actually express themselves or explain what happened, they don't, and you're like, why didn't you do that? And there's sort of like an imaginary wall blockage. Well, in that case scenario, it's the sort of the author writing it that way for convenience. But with humans, it's like, I don't know why I couldn't, but I definitely was stopping myself and I just couldn't. That's kind of how I get. So they want to now, they've always wanted to. It's difficult for them. They just don't know how, they don't know why the wall blockage is there. And this is them then working on it. I do see a lot of tenacity behind it. They are really going to do their best. Expect these things to be small, but feel like it has a lot of intensity behind it because they're really trying. But when they express themselves, it might be a really big deal for them that they're like, I never told you this, but when I'm on my lunch break, I like to go to McDonald's. And you're like, okay. But for them, they're trying to be like, yeah, I don't know why I never told them this. Okay, I'll tell them. And you know, you can feel it's really important. You can feel they're really sharing it with you. So just be patient. This is them opening up. You will enjoy what you receive. It's going to be great. And I do ultimately see it continue. It's good now, but it's just going to continue to get good. And you don't need to worry about if you feel like the relationship is like you kind of taming a beast, like we talked about the strength card. It's fine. It's actually a really positive trait of yours. It's very harmonious. You are not sort of what's the word I want to say? Like, you are not having to always answer to them and mold your life around them. It's actually a nice dynamic, and they're more molding their life around you, and you're the perfect anchor. That's how I want to put it. So please let me know down in the comments below, what is a way that you're going to look out for their small deeds of opening up? What's a time you really enjoyed when they opened? What would you consider opening up to help inspire others in the comments so they can look out for that too? I wanted to say, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I will see you in the next one. And yeah, bye. Let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's look at your past, current, and future relationship by looking at the cards. We have Goblins upright, Ace of Wands in reverse, 9 of Pentacles in reverse, and ooh, that King of Swords in reverse. With Goblins. Okay, I'm not going to say anything too definitive now. We will see what the present is looking like, and most importantly, the future. But this concerns me a little bit. Okay, so first off, Goblins is a weird one to start off on. I say weird because I still don't. I kind of not quite getting the context yet. As dubious as this card might sound, this card is basically popping up saying, usually this is a metaphor when people are going through a difficult time. It implies the idea of goblins and that they can get into your mind. This is all a metaphor, keep in mind, but these goblins are not saying nice things about you, and they are able to mimic your own voice. So essentially, when they are kind of like in your head and using your own voice, you get confused and think this is your own inner narrative and belief system of yourself. And essentially you feel really bad about yourself. In this particular case and scenario, I'm being told by my spirit guides that this card represents you basically being influenced by this other person to kind of slowly be with them and like them. It's like your feelings were kind of almost not your own completely. It wasn't just like you looked at them and thought, oh, I want to be with them romantically, or oh, I want to be with their friend. It seems like they were quite influential in the process. And this is what ultimately in the Ace of Wands really got you excited about them. For Ace of Wands, this can imply like physical attraction, feeling really into them in that kind of way. But I am being told by some of you, it actually, you were aware of this and you were like, don't do that. I don't like that. Stop that. And there was a bit of a turn off, but nonetheless, it seems like the way the other person viewed you and viewed the circumstances, you were sort of like a prize to them, a prize they could enjoy and win, and they thought very highly of you to want to see you as a prize. But also there's an unhealthy context that they see you as something that they don't have and they want to kind of keep and own. And you see what I'm saying here? It kind of got a weird context going on here. And King of Swords in reverse, I can't go into too much detail. You can look it up yourself, but it tends to be around very, very, very unhealthy, controlling, toxic partners. It's not good. It is a dangerous warning card. But that's not always the case in tarot. And despite all of this heaviness, I just get this vibe there's like a misunderstanding. It's not great, but I just don't feel like it's pure evil, that kind of vibe. Either way, this is why they went through such a great effort to be with you and want to kind of win your favor. A lot of that favor being won is how they kind of got in your head and sort of influenced you to think highly of them. So there's a sense of like, this card definitely implies controlling and manipulation and stuff like that, but we can also see it from the perspective of them not feeling confident enough that things would work out naturally the way it was going to work out, and they felt they really needed to be like a key player into making you want to be around them, essentially. So let's look at the present. Sad Embrace Oracle card in reverse. Yep. 8 of Pentacles in reverse. Oh, this is you. And the 10 of Wands in reverse. And see, this is why I didn't want to jump to conclusions when we have 6 of Swords upright. Okay. So this concept is getting repeated again and again, is repeating this idea, how do I put this? Like, there's another side to it. Things aren't completely all bad, or completely one way, if that makes sense. So with the Sad Embrace Oracle card in reverse, this refers to somebody who needs to let go. They are just apparently right now they are struggling. They are having trouble letting things go. They are having trouble feeling the best they possibly could in the relationship and being fully present. And it's kind of like they're unnecessarily creating inner drama in their head. And it's like them thinking, oh, they don't, about you. Oh, they don't like me. They don't want to be with me. They only want to be with me because I helped them be with me. And I influenced them, and they're just repeating it over and over and again. And it's like, what are you talking about? You, the person watching this, has free will. They are choosing to be who they want. Your influence, even if it was there, could only work so much. And so they're just kind of, if you feel any sort of sadness or pull away, that's kind of them in their own head, nothing that you're explicitly doing, in fact. But I can see here in the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, and I'm being told by my spirit guides, this is how much they actively contemplate being with you, how much they contemplate wanting to be wrapped like in your kind of inner circle of your being and your, how we have our individual worlds, you could say, our perspective on the world and our little bubbles. They want to be in your little bubble, and they work on it daily. It is their main focus, and it's something they regularly put kind of like every waking thought into, being like, okay, what could I do here and what could I do here? There's a lot of details, there's a lot of little tiny things that they're overthinking, and it is a regular thought process and occurrence and thing they actively work on in order to gain your favor or know what you're doing. And this would be very much, both of these cards imply it's like a behind the scenes thing. So you might be listening to something like, I wouldn't say they're that intense. Oh, you don't know they're that intense. They might come across as a cool cucumber because that's what they feel that you would find attractive, and they maybe want to present themselves a certain way, but truly at the end of the day, we don't know what's going on in people's heads, and apparently this is what's going on to them. Either way, you are clearly sensing something is off, and this is why we have you, little sweet pea, in the Ten of Wands, trying to relieve whatever tension is, going on for them. You're trying to help them relax. You're trying to be like, oh, you seem really distracted. What's going on? And unbeknownst to this other person, they seem like they're almost pulling away or don't seem into you because they seem more within themselves, but they're actually within themselves about you, and they're not able to turn around and be like, oh, of course they're into me, they're trying to help me. This also does get hinted and linked around, like attraction. So like if you're trying to be like, hey, look at me, and you're not really feeling that vibe back, and you're like, oh, did I do something wrong? Am I not, attractive to them anymore? No, they are being silly and being distracted. They don't realize it's not a reaction to what you're offering. It's like they're not even realizing that you're offering it because they're so concerned with their perspective, how they think things go. I'm feeling like this is now more of an OCD trait rather than like evil. Like sometimes controlling can just be that. I mean, people who suffer from that, from OCD, that's definitely something that, you're a bad person because you have trouble letting something go. It's just a more difficult thing to deal with and just nearly impossible to turn it off. If you are, please write down in the comments below so other people can understand what that feels like, that feeling of it. When it's hard to let something go, you just feel like the worst is going to happen, that kind of case scenario, just so others can understand. That would be very helpful. But anyways, with the Six of Swords, it implies, yeah, things aren't great right now, and does reconfirm, yeah, things are a little rocky right now. But it also does confirm that things are going to get better and you guys will ride out this storm, which is great. Out of this scenario, which is great, because when we want to get out of this scenario, we want to get out of this other person thinking they have to somehow be in control and so on and so forth and put you in this position. We want to get out of this scenario, which is great. So let's look at the future. We've got Mountain Oracle card upright. Ooh, I love these two together. The Magician card in reverse. The Judgment card upright, well, that's good. And the Two of Swords in reverse. I absolutely love this. This is a phenomenal turnout after such a rough beginning where I didn't even know the other person we were talking about in question, not you, the other person. I didn't even know who they were, you know what I mean? And now I feel so much better knowing where you guys are going to be going. So let's start with the Magician card in reverse. Essentially, the main answer to all of this issue that does seem to be repeating but be resolved in the future is over here. It is when you have imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome basically makes, it has this subtext that you actually are good enough, but you just don't believe you are. So you really get down on yourself and feel like you have a lot to prove. And that's where all the control and the influence comes in. They're like, what do I have to prove to seem like a good person? They think they have to manufacture all of these sort of connections and events, when in reality, like, they really don't. You know what I mean? Like, they're good enough. You were genuinely drawn to them. We talked about how in the Ace of Wands in the first one, for some of you, this was even a turnoff of just be like, be yourself. Come on. So the way they overcome that is going on here in the Judgment card and the Mountain card. Where do I want to go? I'll just go here. The Mountain card refers to the problem being solved through the easiest method possible. It does infer that there is this big thing. It gives us a magnitude of how big of a deal this imposter syndrome is for them. But the Mountain says, why do you got to climb over me? You don't have to climb over me. You don't have to make it more difficult. You don't have to constantly keep, curbing and controlling and manipulating and changing things you think need to be. You don't have to show them that way. You could just let go and imagine the place and person you'd like to be and just let it happen. And it seems like however this will be resolved is sort of like an epiphany oriented thing that feels like the easiest case scenario, like they hear something and they finally click and realize they're good enough and let go. But whatever it is, it's going to be easy peasy. It doesn't really feel, let me just double check with my spirit guide. Nope, it does not feel like you need to do anything. This is going to be their own accord, what they attract naturally into their personal bubble and sphere, and this will be resolved. Now, the main thing going on here in the future is this Judgment card. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Judgment cards are not a big deal. People think, oh my God, Judgment, my relationship is being tested. Oh, that was really punctual. Tested. And yes, your relationship is being tested, but literally everyone's relationship is tested multiple times, like all the time. Even relationships where you only date someone for like a month and it's not meant to be kind of scenario. This is normal, because when you were tested for it, it implies either it won't turn out good, and that's, you're both better off for it. You learn that you can't stand, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the emotional kitchen. But in this case scenario, it confirms that you will be tested, you will make it through that testing, and therefore be better off for it. So it might feel like a moment of strain of being like, what is their issue? They learn their issue is imposter syndrome. And then they face that. They have to realize that that's who they are. They attract an epiphany in their life. They fix it. And then you're both like, wow, I now understand who you are and why you approach things in this way. And they're like, wow, you really do like me, even for my flaws. And there's a sense of love and togetherness between, again, friends, romantic, family, whatever that may be. But it does turn out good, which is great. Over here in the Two of Swords in reverse, I was kind of not quite sure if it would go either way because I needed greater context, but now that I've read the cards, in one case and scenario, it does talk about that this decision will sort of be definitive. Once they've had this epiphany, this is not going to be an issue anymore, you're good to go, bright, happy future. We love that. It's more of a permanent thing, and that's great. But it also, in addition to that, talks about your perspective. It just implies that there is some sort of decision that gets made on your end, and that end feels very much like, are you going to be with them or not? Are you happy or not? Well, I can see through all the other cards, yeah, it seems you're making this. Now, I'm going to keep it open. I mean, you could decide, no, I can't stand this, I don't want to be with them, so on and so forth, and then your decision is to ultimately not be with them, and then this is a permanent decision. But I'll be honest with you, I just really don't. I'm just mentioning it just case, but I'm really only picking up you being like, yes, okay, cool, I've made this decision, I'm being with this person, they've made it up to the test, they've proven themselves to me, I'm very happy. So wow. Please write down in the comments below if you enjoyed this roller coaster as much as I did and you made it all the way to the end. Because in the beginning, I was a little like, I get very like defensive of you guys because I love you guys so much, where I'm just like, you don't be mean to my baby. So when I saw some kind of warning signs, I was a little like, what's going on here? And I'm really happy to say that this person is just kind of dealing with their own personal thing. It even gets worked out. There's a lot of love and admiring you and wanting you. And it's a little warped in the beginning, but it does get ultimately fixed in the end. And you both seem happier for it. So I'm really happy for you. And I hope you're happy too. If you enjoyed this, again, put in the comments below, like when it comes to imposter syndrome, how do you feel like this other person expresses it? Is this something you're like, oh wow, or something you've seen it before, or you're having epiphany for the first time? I'd love to know. Please let others know in the comments below, so in case they're not quite sure what this means, it helps them better understand. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Helps out the channel like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I will see you in the next one, and let's get ready for our final group. Group number 4. Group number 4. Let's look at the past, present, and future of your connection by looking at the cards. Your oracle card is, this is for the past, sorry. That's details and details. Detail and details. Details. Oracle card in reverse. The star card in reverse. Queen of Pentacles upright. And 7 of Wands upright. Interesting. This one's being kind of vague to me. My spirit guide just simply says to like keep it in mind, but we will get back to it later. So I'm just going to share this to be the vague. They said that this is sort of like the motif. Basically, it implies when somebody is kind of like too focused on the details. It's sort of like a man handling, needing to know every little bit of what it is and kind of over exercising that sort of craftsmanship or way you're interacting and creating what's going on around you, and then being aware of being like, you gotta back off. Let it happen as it happens. Details are important, but in this case it's going overboard, or you're overlooking it overboard, but I don't really know why yet. I feel like it could be a little bit here, but I'm not really feeling the intensity here, so we'll see later on. Anyways, going on in the cards, I can see that when you guys got together, it was kind of magic on your end. Here you are being represented by the Queen of Pentacles. You were kind of like the best version of you. You had really worked on self-improvement and really had a handle on your sort of inner shine and inner glow. There was a sense of confidence about yourself, potentially about money. My spirit guide is saying that for many of you, you felt very confident in yourself due to your success in your career or whatever you were bringing in financially. You felt like you were able to treat yourself, things like that. But you were more importantly proud of who you were, and that because you understood how you got there, there was this feeling of like, oh yeah, if anything happens, I know how to get back to this place. I know what I'm doing. And it seems this is why this other person was drawn to you. Again, romantic, friendship, whatever. And over here in the star card, it was a bit of a destiny-bound thing that you guys were brought together. But there were some sort of, this could be anything. It's sort of like a separation or obstacle or issue that messed up a chain of events that were supposed to happen. When we have a star card upright, this is when unexpected events happen. They're small, they're little, but when you go with the flow, you realize they're all working to your advantage. And I find when the star card pops up, these unexpected events are happy unexpected events. It's not like, oh, well, that sucked, but at least, you know, it worked out for the better. It's like it was fun to experience. It was great overall. It was great for the benefit of everything. There was something that was supposed to happen, a couple things I'm being told, but there was some resistance or maybe overthinking the details potentially, and it kind of got messed up along the way. I do want to be clear that when we have the star card upright or in reverse, it's still an incredibly good card. It still implies there's a lot of potential to this relationship. It didn't get like permanently messed up. It just feels and explains what's going over here in the 7 of Wands in upright, which implies when you feel like you're having to fight for the relationship. Nothing too intense, just like it should have been a lot easier than it was. And again, we have a reason why that is. So let's get into let me not pull the cards too in advance. Wishing well, upright, Ace of Swords, upright. Oh, King of Pentacles in reverse and Four of Wands in reverse. Okay, I can get right into this. So first off, I want to talk about this very cute thing I'm showing up over here in the wishing well. The destiny bound thing keeps getting repeated again. And I can hear my spirit guide right now telling me that the reason why they chose this card to be picked over something like the Two of Cups or the Six of Cups is directly based on the fact that some of you, this is a soulmate connection. It feels like a positive soulmate connection, because I just want to be clear about this. Just because you're soulmates doesn't mean, well, you want that connection. It can be not a fun connection you keep having over and over again, but you're sort of fated to meet up. In this case, it feels positive. So for some of you, it is a soulmate connection, but the reason why it's sort of used as this general card is the wishing well implies this sort of destiny-bound feeling. It's again, really matches with the Queen of Pentacles energy really well. This is when you sort of are wishing and inspired and you have desires, and then you start to kind of have epiphanies and take on inspired action or follow chain of events right when they happen. That's actually why it's interesting the Star card is in reverse, because on one hand it implies that there were a chain of events that happened that were aha moments for you and this other person, which is why you got together when you were the Queen of Pentacles upright. But then there was some resistance, something happened, some more chain of events were supposed to happen, and then they didn't. So this continues with this vibe of like an aha moment, and the two of you meant to be together. There's a very sweet quality to it, which I love that tone for the relationship. But here's where the sort of like juddedness or things feeling off going on over here. Don't worry, we're going to pull future to see where it goes, but it has some explanation. So in the Ace of Swords, I'm getting kind of conflicting energy. On one hand, it feels like there is truth. There's this feeling of truth, like it's not necessarily being completely hid back for many of you. So like on one hand, it talks about, for some of you, it's like both of you are speaking honestly about whatever's the new scenario, and you're just starting to be like, hey, this is how I feel. Hey, this is how I feel. This is what I have going on in my life. This is why I'm being the way I am. And for others, it's a really intense need to have an open-ended, honest conversation where you're like, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? But there's something needing to be discussed, whether it's freely being discussed now or it needs to be freely discussed, going on with the other person you're with. So this other person, again, romantic friend, whatever, they seem to be having some insecurities and feeling stable and secure via finances. When we have a King of Pentacles in reverse situation, this is when someone's defining themselves by their worth, by money. And so if they don't have enough saved, have enough for future plans, it can start to get to them emotionally, because that's how they view themselves. And this is what's then causing the Four of Wands in reverse. Four of Wands to me is a very home-oriented card, but home can refer to your physical home. Maybe they're worried they'll lose their place they're living at. But it also refers to the feeling of like inside all of us is this little home base, or maybe this can be presented in a physical place like your room or something like that. And when you feel like that's stable, you can go there, you can take refuge, you feel like you can be yourself and regroup. So when it's taken away from you, you feel like maybe you have your home, you're not going to lose it, but you feel like you are, it just doesn't feel right to you. Something's off, or you just feel like it's not yours right now for whatever, because sometimes it's a perspective thing, you know what I mean? Or maybe they feel like they don't have that inner stable home within themselves, because they're always saying to themselves, well, you're not good enough. When you get this, you're good enough, and then you can be stable. So they're kind of taking it away from themselves. Either way, when we don't have that, we have that kind of last place to regroup situation taken away from us, well, we don't feel the best, and it kind of results in not the best interactions and stuff like that. I'm not seeing anything terrible or fights or hating or anything like that. It feels like something's off and it needs to be resolved in this manner. So let's look at the future. Listening Oracle card. Upright. Nine of Cards upright. King of Wands upright. Four of Wands upright. Okay, let's get started. I just I just realized that this is fantastic. Sorry, I got so zoned into this card. I was listening to my spirit guide. I just registered this. This is fantastic. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm happy to say this is the interaction between the two of you, and this is the result. This is how you're going to interact. So here you are, King of Wands. Again, another very much ruler leader position. None of this scenario that they're dealing with is going to affect you in any way. The reason why you're being represented by the King of Wands compared to the Queen of Pentacles is the Queen of Pentacles is sort of like your energy of like, yeah, everything's going great. I feel amazing. This is who I am. And they were drawn to that. They wanted that too. They wanted to be around that subconsciously. We can see why and how important that is to them to gain their own sense of kingly, King of Pentacle, business-oriented stuff. Well, when you are represented by the King of Wands, doesn't matter who you are, your gender, this is somebody who has both experience and the energy to be there for someone. They are able to, I see you sitting, you're listening, you're not being affected or moved by this or swayed in any way. You're able to be that shoulder for them to lean on and be like, yeah, I'm here for you. And it's not going to affect you energy-wise or emotionally, but you are going to be their confidant for them to overcome their stuff. And this is what's going on over here in the Nine of Swords upright. They're lamenting, they're upset. It is to show us how serious it has been for them emotionally, mentally too, because this is when you repeat an idea in your head over and over and over and over again. It is not very fun to experience this, and we've all been here at one time or another plagued by a particular thought or two. So this is you being there for them and able to be there for them. The way you are there for them is through the listening card. Obviously that's easy, we talk about you listening, but that's the main thing. Is it's got two things going on here. Sometimes we need to speak, give advice, but in this case scenario, just you being able to hear them, be unmoving the way you will naturally be and all that jazz will do a lot for it. Sometimes you're going to get the answers you need and the answers everyone needs by being the listener rather than the proactive, sharer of wisdom and advice in this case scenario. But in addition to that, we have this cute little, can you see this tiny bird on top of this elephant's head? This is basically the universe. In this mutualistic relationship between this elephant and this little bird will clean and take care of the elephant, anything that's on them that would hurt them, and the elephant is kind of most of the time none the wiser, doesn't even think about it deeper. It's working out best case scenario. He's being taken care of and all is good. This is basically the symbol of like, don't think too deeply about it. This is again very much the star card of like destiny's happening, don't worry about the details, just go with the flow. It seems like a bunch of things are going to be happening that will add up and work around this that will continue to benefit and take your person from feeling where they used to feel and taking them where they want to feel. And this is then what leads to, I'm very happy to report the last card, the Four of Wands upright. How more on the nose can you get? This is when you feel stable. You feel like you have your home again. And I'm really happy to say with it being behind you, it seems like you are a part of that process. You are their home to them. It's very cute. Feels very romantic, being someone's home to someone else. I love it. And I'm very happy that this is just ultimately a great thing that keeps getting even better, and they seem like they really improve, and you're able to be strong enough and be the person to be there for them. And you don't have to do much else but listen and know the universe is taking care of you. So I love this for you and them. Please write down in the description below anything you can do to help inspire others. Maybe they're, other people, partners or whoever also are struggling with feeling their self-worth is defined by money. Do you feel like you have personal wisdom that you're like, well, this is how I see it. This is how I don't get consumed by this idea. Or, what is your version of home? Is it internal? Is it a physical place? What is your little special spot? Please share it to inspire others to create their own little space so they can, it does a lot to make a little corner and wherever you live, and you decorate it, make it look nice. You put a little snack there, and there you have your little place. What does your little place look like? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please consider giving it a like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I appreciate it so much. It helps me out like you would not believe in the channel itself. I am looking forward to seeing you in the next one. I am wishing you the best, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.